So, happiness. I'll tell you a word of this went by so fast. Happiness. One of the interesting things for me is that it at one point was an option. Now it's a mandate. And so people didn't, we used to divorce because we were unhappy. Now we divorce because we could be happier. There's a very different threshold and a very different definition of what goes into commitment. Not that we are less committed, but that we don't necessarily expect to suffer in the same way. In a way, one of the striking features for millennials is what has come to be called the capstone marriage, as opposed to the boomer marriage, which was the cornerstone marriage. So what's the difference? When you marry at your early 21, 22, you basically are still a little Strumpf, and you kind of are in a relationship that is going to make you, in some way prepares you better for the hardships of lifelong relationships with somebody. But when you do capstone marriage, it's not a marriage for the making of me, it's a marriage for the recognition of who I've already made myself to be. The capstone marriage, I come to it already fairly formed. I've spent 10 years in relationships, doing my work if I can, building my home if I can, hopefully paying back a portion of my college debts if I can, all of this. But the basic thing is, you are choosing me at my most authentic, as a recognition for who I am. And my expectation in a capstone marriage is to continue to be who I am and for you to help me preserve that hard-won identity. Capstone is where we are going. It's very, very different than relationships in which we grow up with the other person. And most of the people who do capstone versions also have built in a few systems. One of it is that you do a beta testing for your relationship, like with a new website. You have it kind of half official, and you do it for 2 years to see if it holds well, if you can actually sustain it, and then you move on, so that the progression is children, I'm already formed, so what I'm choosing you for is basically for the one thing for which I still really need a committed relationship, which is the raising of children. That's the high investment parenting. And the raising of children is become very, very interesting, because for the traditional marriage got work out of their children, which is why they needed many children. But the contemporary marriage doesn't get work from their children, they get meaning. And when you get meaning of your children, you create a kind of sentimental idealization of these little smurfs, who are going to tell you that you are a good parent. And who you now are going to parent, because it's become a verb, like a profession. And who need to... And all of this has economic ramifications. All of this has, I am convinced that if we were living in a different economy with a more hope in a brighter future, we would not be doing it the way we're doing it. This anxiety is because we really know that we don't have a way of assuring that our kids will have a better life than us. But unfortunately, we're doing a few things en passant that are complicated, because we are raising a generation of kids who don't really understand frustration too well. We make sure that they never feel bad. And these children that made sure never to feel bad and that really don't like rejection are the ones that have offered you Tinder. Have you heard of Tinder? The rejection-free app, people. You no longer have to put yourself out there and hope that the other person is going to react to you and also click on you. It's swipe me, swipe you at the same time. Nobody has to worry about it. So when we talk about these, to me what's interesting is when we talk about the apps, it's very important to understand that we raise these kids. We the boomers, my kids are that version too. I raised them.